John Leventis here. Welcome to another episode of Studio Crete, a show where we take arts and culture and add a Cretan perspective to it. Today features two absolute proper legends, Kelly, who will be discussing the symbolism of the Sariki in Cretan culture, and Katie, who will be discussing what it's like to foster community within smaller and more remote communities. Enjoy the show. Have fun.
Next, I'd like to discuss Sarikia. So a Sariki is a traditional head wrap or headscarf worn still today as part of a stoli, a costume, or just with everyday clothing. So it's obviously got a very integral part in Crete's culture and Crete's history. There are typically white Sarikia and black Sarikia, both symbolizing and meaning different things. It's said that the black Sariki with the fringes knitted into it are a symbol of the tears shed during the occupation by the Ottoman Empire, and a reminder of the mourning and tragedy that struck the island during that time. A white sariki typically is worn during a joyous occasion, a wedding, a baptism, obviously both again meaning different things but still having very significant symbolism in today's culture.
G'day guys, welcome to another episode of Studio Crete. My name is Manoli and I've got Katie joining with me today. Katie's a prominent member of the Canberra Greek community and a beautiful musician and dancer in her own right. How are you going, Katie?
I'm good. How are you, Manoli?
Yeah, fantastic. For those who might not know you, especially because you're actually based in the ACT and a lot of our members might not be familiar with you, would you mind providing the audience a bit of about yourself?
Yes, I think we've been a bit hidden in the ACT until the last couple of years, but I'm a Greek Australian with an Aussie dad and a Greek mum whose family originates from Chania in Crete. I've been a Greek dancer since I was 9 years old. That's actually where I met my now husband. I was 9, he was 11. We met at those Greek dancing classes. I've been teaching Greek dancing since I was about 18. So that's about 10 years now. In 2017, we realized that we had a really good structure and program of dance for kids, but nothing for adults. So in 2017, my husband and I started Canberra's first adult Greek dance class, which is still running today, which is really good. Dancing's always been probably my single Greek passion, but last year I decided to join a band. So we've sort of formed Canberra's only Greek band at the moment.
It's such a broad involvement that you and Theo have had in the Canberra Greek community, and quite an important one as well, taking leadership positions as dance teachers and being involved in music as well. But our Melbourne perspective is a little bit different because we have so many more Greek community events going on and different ways to express ourselves and our identity. What's it like being Greek in the ACT?
I love it. We're a super small community, but a really strong one. I think where we differ from other states and territories is probably that rather than there being, I suppose, not segregation, but very separate places where people meet and separate associations, we're one unified community because our population is so small. So we've got people from all walks of life, from many different regions in Greece. We've got our separate associations so that we can represent each one, but we're lucky enough to have one location where the whole of the Canberra Greek community meets. If anyone's been to Canberra, they've probably been to the Hellenic Club of Canberra.
Yeah.
So that's where we hold all the dance classes in Canberra, all the Greek language classes. It's where all the events held by all the different associations are. So there's essentially no other place for us to meet. So we all know each other, we all gather there. And I think that's what makes us so strong and tight-knit as a community. And we've also only got one church in Canberra. So we all meet there as well.
That's fantastic. To pivot a little bit into the more cultural aspects of your experience as well, I understand that you're a singer in a Greek band and I just found out now that it's the only Greek band in ACT. What's what is the Greek music scene like in the ACT? Do you guys play a lot of gigs, and are there a lot of interested people who come and listen and watch you guys?
Yeah, I think the advantage to being, as far as I know, we're the only Greek band in Canberra. I could be wrong, but I think because we're so small, I think I'd know if there was another one around there. But the Greek music scene is incredibly fun here and also incredibly supportive. Being the only Greek band in Canberra, I think the community is really excited that we decided to form last year. So they're really getting behind us to support us. They come to all of our shows. We started monthly shows this year before lockdown happened, and most of them were a sellout. So I think everyone's just super excited to have a local band that they can utilize whenever they want. So we've done our monthly shows. We get booked for private events, community events, weddings, things like that. So everyone's incredibly supportive, but I guess it extends beyond our band as well, because we love bringing international singers to the Hellenic Club as well.
Yeah.
So just before lockdown, we had Sariki come and us, and I know we've had Dimitris Basis a few times as well. So we love our international acts, but in general, I think everyone's just really excited to finally have some local entertainment, and everyone's banding together, I think, just to make sure that they can keep that vibe alive, because it's a fairly new one for us just in the last couple of years.
I know you have a Cretan background as well, and we actually met you through the Cretan conventions. I was wondering how you guys got involved in the Cretan Association and with the Cretan conventions.
Yeah, it was actually a really random moment. I was, again, at the Hellenic Club, which is where we all go all the time for all of our meetings. I was there for a dance committee meeting, and we were just wrapping up, and I went downstairs to the cafe, I think to get a tea or something, and the Cretan Association was there. They were wrapping up their AGM. They called me over. They asked if I wanted to join, and I said, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think, I've always wanted to join the Cretan Association, but never really felt like I had the time because I was always part of other things. But it felt like a good time, and that was around November 2019. And it just so happened that Cretan Convention was a couple of months after that, and they very kindly offered to fund for my husband Theo and I to go there and experience our first Cretan Convention. So we were obviously stoked. So it was quite a, I guess, a random, spontaneous moment where I just so happened to meet the association at the Hellenic Club, and it all just went from there.
I know from our perspective, we were really stoked to see community in Canberra, and it was so fun to realise that our sphere and our world had grown a little bit bigger and be able to share and communicate with you guys. I was wondering as well, what exactly was your first experience like at convention when you went down to Adelaide? How did you find it?
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I had never been to anything like that before, ever, actually. Our Greek community is very small in Canberra, and that obviously means our Cretan community is it's smaller. We tend to have really low-key events, barbecues, AGMs, maybe a couple of interstate trips to see the Archbishop. And I think it's very much been aimed at the older Cretans in the community. But I'd never been to an event that was just focused on and tailored to Cretan heritage. I think because we're such a small community in Canberra, we tend to focus on preserving our overall Greek heritage rather than specific regional heritage. So the Cretan Convention brought out my Cretan identity for the first time ever, because up until that point, I just identified as a Greek Australian who was living in Canberra. But it really made me proud to identify as a Cretan Australian, because that's not really something that we celebrate so much here in Canberra. I think I was saying before, we tend to be very unified as one Greek community rather than separate regional communities. So I found it really powerful to be in a room with all these like-minded people, young people, mind you. I'm the youngest in the Cretan Association, probably by about 20 years. And just seeing everyone's massive efforts to preserve the Cretan heritage.
Well, opening up the idea of Cretanness or regional identity personally has expanded my idea of Greek identity. When we grow up at general Greek schools and churches, sometimes you kind of think that it's a monolith or a single idea of being Greek. And I think what I found in conventions is not only opening up my idea of what it means to be Greek, but how you can be Greek in so many different ways. And the regional aspect is one way of doing it, but especially with the massive youth crowd that we've seen at these conventions over time, we've actually seen people contribute and change to the culture. And I've grown to realize that the culture of being Greek and being Cretan isn't something that's fixed, but it's something that's always changing, and it's something that we have the power to change and contribute to.
That's definitely something I would agree with after having attended my first convention. I was blown away. I'd never thought about my personal Greek identity in that way, but also about the importance of preserving that as well through events like the Cretan Convention. It really, I think it genuinely reignited the passion that I had to make sure that it stayed alive.
Yeah.
So very thankful to our Cretan Association for sending us there. That was great.
I understand that you've actually gotten into playing Cretan litter as well. It seems a bit peculiar since you're in the ACT and there's so few resources. So I was wondering, how have you been able to pursue Cretan litter and that musical endeavour?
I think out of all of the ways I identify and choose to, I guess, practice as a Greek, the litter's probably been the most challenging, if I'm honest. I picked it up in 2018. My husband was beautiful enough to make that my birthday gift that particular year from Crete. So he'd known that I'd wanted to pick it up for a while, but it's been challenging here because as far as I know, there's not a single other person here in Canberra who plays the Cretan litter. And if they do, it's not a well-known fact. So I'm not aware of anyone else. So I reached out to a teacher in Sydney to inquire about some video lessons, and we've had a handful of lessons together over the last couple of years, but I guess our schedules just never really lined up.
I think the focus on digital resources to help people pursue culture and the opportunity to perform has to really be prioritized for this next coming generation. You have other instruments like guitar and violin, and obviously more non-ethnic specific instruments that have these amazing online resources that allow for self-teaching. I think it's something that we could realistically look at to, allow people to pursue litter and lauto if they wanted to. But it's really interesting to hear that experience of your own and the Cretan litter.
Oh, if someone created some kind of structured online program to learn the litter, I would hands down pay for that. I think it's a hard instrument to pick up and just know where to start without any sort of guidance. So if there's anyone out there who's listening who wants to start a virtual program, I would be your first client.
And I'm sure there's a massive market for it out there beyond the ACT, throughout Melbourne, throughout Australia. I think it's a really important point, and I'm glad that we've brought it up. So kind of wrap it up a little bit, I guess, Katie, it's been a pleasure having you on. I was very curious, what's the most Cretan thing in your house?
It's so funny you asked that, because this time a week ago, it would have been my litter, my Cretan litter. But my husband and I received a very beautiful gift last weekend from my sister-in-law. I'll show you actually, rather than explain it, because it's a visual thing.
Yeah.
So she knows how important our Greek identity is, and she's a fantastic artist. So as her belated wedding gift to us, she's decided to paint this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had to show you. So this is a portrait of my husband and I. I've got a traditional Cretan costume there, and my husband's in the Tsolya there. His family's from Mani in the Peloponnese. And she's depicted the mountains in the background, because the landscape in Crete and Mani tends to be quite similar. So she's depicted the mountains in Crete and Mani in the background. So I would say that is hands down the most Cretan thing in our house right now. Shout out to Sophia Mercurius. If you want your painting done, hit me up and I will get in touch with her.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Katie. I was wondering, did you have any final comments for the viewers at home?
I would say probably just a big thank you to people like you, Manoli, who put such massive effort into preserving what we have here. I think it'll be really important for the generations to come. And it's particularly important for me right now, the whole idea of preserving that identity, because I'm currently carrying the next generation.
Oh my God.
Surprises.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very, very thankful to people like you, because I know that without you and the people who are in these associations all over Australia, that, you know, my child would never get to experience what I've grown up in.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on, Katie. That was fantastic.
Well done. Absolute legends we had on the program today. Thank you very much. Pure class. Absolutely amazing. Thank you for coming to another episode of Studio Crete. If you'd like to find out more, give us a like on Facebook, follow our YouTube channel, click on the website, and that's been another episode. Thank you. Take care.